Hello, I'm Dr. Jane. I'm a psychologist. This is Knowing Narcissism. And in today's Is This Person a Narcissist? Am I Being Unreasonable? I have a message here that somebody's contacted me, and which you can do so on Instagram, DM, or if you are happy to put your comments and your questions below, then please do so as well. So this person writes, I've been married for 12 years, probably unhappily for the half of those years, on and off. I have 11-year-old twin girls and a 17-year-old. My husband is a mainly good dad and close to them all. At the start, he was fun, sociable, and most importantly, he was nice to me. We never spoke about anything too seriously and didn't have many in-depth conversations. Our thoughts about world politics, religion and stuff just kind of bimbled along, and they were quite happy as a couple. Now, for a number of years, my husband has been getting angry and stressed, which I've put down to him having a stressful job, which he actively dislikes. Difficult customers and the pressures of a big mortgage he insisted on buying. So here are some examples of his behaviour. He will never criticise me directly or complain about anything I've done, but then something will come out and he's angry, especially after a few drinks. I have my own opinions on things and I think I should be allowed to share them. However, I'm conscious of what I say in case it upsets him. He cannot stand criticism and takes it very personally. Another example was a time when he tripped going into the house. It wasn't anything serious. I laughed and he went absolutely ballistic at me. He will sulk for days on end and continue to be nice to other people, but blank me and just give me the cold shoulder. He compares himself to other people we know who are better off than us, but he will then complain endlessly that they have things that he doesn't. I also earn a good salary and contribute to our outgoings, but he's the one that handles the money. I think he secretly feels that he is better than other people, although he doesn't say this. His brother is similar in that regard, and this person writes that she blames the dad, who always told them that they were better than anybody else. I feel like he blames me for everything when anything goes wrong. Any advice? Well, yes, I think the things that you've written, a lot of narcissistic traits. So he externalizes everything in his life, be it his job, be it how he feels about things, anything at all. He externalizes and projects onto other people, which 9 times out of 10, I imagine, is you, because you're in the house with him. It's interesting, isn't it, that this person picked up that tiny little example of when the husband was walking into the house and he tripped up and she just found it funny, and he went absolutely mad at him because that is his tenuous, fragile little sense of himself just at that moment, because he's tripped up, being deflated by something he's done nobody else has done. He probably blamed the door after that. They usually do something like that. And just went completely mad at her. But I think the more significant thing was that she remembered that as an example of how his fragile ego and his insecurity at that point was so damaged that he then had to lash out to make himself feel better by making somebody else feel bad. And that is a classic narcissistic trait. He will sulk and do the one-word answers or cold shoulder her, but then make a massive thing about being very engaging and funny with other people, as if to prove a point to her. Often in those situations, people don't know what they've done because they're not talking to you. They won't tell you what they've done, but they expect you to mind read. And again, another classic narcissistic trait. And just in case we needed it to remind ourselves what a narcissist is like, they want validation, admiration, to feel special, unique, superior, to feel number one in everybody's life. So when you have a situation where he's tripped up and other people have found it funny, to him, that's all. That's his little house, a fragile house of cards, dropping there. So he's got to lash out to make himself feel better. He doesn't like criticism. You know, we could go over these things over and over, but the interesting thing is it was modelled behaviour from the dad. She picks up on that. He and his brother are the same. Goodness only knows what it must have been like growing up in their household, because probably the dad had them competing against each other for everything, for attention, for resources, for interest, for education, you name it. The dad would have had these two boys competing against each other. And was one of them the golden child and the other one the scapegoat? Did those roles quickly get reversed all the time? Because that's what narcissistic parents will do. They will kind of pull the rug out from underneath their children's feet quite commonly, because they don't want them ever to be anything like them. They're trying to teach them to be narcissists, but only kind of narcissists light, if you like, or narcissists 50%, because I'm the 100% guy around here and you guys can't even get near to me. And probably the same goes on. I don't know what the situation is with the this person's husband's dad, so the father-in-law. I don't know if he's still around, whether he's still having influence or not, but his modelling, his teaching is certainly something that this lady is having to endure. She doesn't say, she said about he's been a good dad to the children, so I wonder, doesn't say the detail what that means. Has he modelled narcissistic behaviour? But she doesn't say that. She doesn't actually say that her children are like that. So she's probably worked very, very hard to mitigate any of that, to have his behaviours not be, influence the children in a way that they want to copy it like he did with his dad. Interesting, because often the narcissist that passes it down to a narcissist or has learnt from the narcissist will think, well, it's done me no harm, so that's great, I'll just pass that on to my children. And obviously it kind of stopped there because she was useful in that. So what can she do about that? It's a hard situation, because she's obviously living with this guy and she's quite enmeshed. She's got twins and a teenager with him, so neither of them are going anywhere at the moment. But I think one of the important things is she has her life. She builds her life. She says she works full time and contributes to the bank account that he has control over. I think I'd be looking at that if I was her, and making sure that she has her own finances separate to either of those together, because I can guarantee you one thing, he'll have his own finances. So I would be looking at that. I would, try, if she can, and if he does have okay days, try and talk to him about how his behaviour affects others. And it might be that she uses the children here and, says, you don't mean to, but you sometimes confuse them, and confuse is it can be quite a neutral term, rather than if you said you upset them or anything. What do you mean I have upset them? How dare they be upset? Almost. I was never upset when my dad spoke to me like that. So we don't want to go down that particular rabbit hole. So if we kind of just say, sometimes it can be a bit confusing, that's a little bit of a less emotive word to talk to people about. But it's important that she has people around to talk to and make a decision for her life. Her children are important, of course, and they're quite young, but they're not going to be there for all of her life. And it might be that at some point she has enough of this and she doesn't want to live with this guy anymore. Now, I'm not saying make great plans now, but consider it, because the one thing about this man, it's unlikely that he's changed. People ask all the time, do narcissists change? Often the only thing that changes them is just the reduction of energy. Sometimes they just run out of energy, and I'd kind of be interested to know about how his dad is now. And I suspect he's probably conserving all the energy he has as an old man into still being the narcissist and still being thought to be special and valid and unique, and surrounding himself with his two sons that have just spent their lifetime doing this for him. It's, and there will, maybe be times where her husband feels, this wasn't right, and maybe that needs reflecting back to him. So perhaps suggest, couples counselling. The reason I'm saying that is because it kind of gets him in front of somebody. Will he engage? Probably not, and probably will walk out and say, what the hell did that person talk about? They don't know anything. Probably don't know anything. So yeah, it's a difficult one, but know yourself and have your plans and have your friends. That's really what I'd say about that. If you'd like to get in contact, you can DM me on Instagram. There's a connection below, or if you're happy that other people can see your question, then put it down below. If I could ask you to like and subscribe, share, all those things, it just helps the channel enormously and just gets kind of the message out there and helps people. That's really what this is about. Until next time, please do keep safe, and goodbye.